So that's next week. Super excited about John. Let me just make a profession to you. My coffee cup was dirty because I've used it so much. And I thought, I just can't write. Do you have, no, you see, you don't have yours either. Hey, I am so excited that you're here today. This is going to be a unique day for us. We are in the middle of Covenant Sunday, and this is Covenant Sunday 2 for you. We talked last week about this idea that the greatest responsibility, this new commandment that Christ gave to us, is to love one another. We talked about this idea that together, if you and I have this message, this is the new hope. This is it, man. We got it right, and that if we'll allow ourselves to recognize that we are part of this new thing that He's doing, we're going to see amazing things. So I thank you for covenanting with us, and John talked about that a lot. So thanks for being here. This morning, take your Bibles, turn to Psalms chapter 119. Largest, it really doesn't make any sense anymore to say largest chapter in the Bible because your phone doesn't really care that it's the largest chapter in the Bible. It's just irrelevant. But turn there if you have. Does anybody have a real Bible today? We want to. Can we applaud for the 4 of you that have your real Bibles? Thank you so much. 4, I think 5. That's terrible. Unbelievable. I want to read you something today, and I want to share some thoughts with you and share something very unique with you today. And then after I finish that, Pastor John is going to come back, and we're going to do a couple of worship songs. We're going to sing a little bit together, and then we're going to spend some time at the end of service in prayer. I want you to understand that these aren't just segmented pieces today. Sometimes when you come to church, it's segmented. Everything has its place and its order. And partly the reason for that is because that's what we experience. That's what we're used to experiencing. And for those of you that may be guests today, we're glad that you're here. Thank you for being here. Let me give you a little context. Over the last month and a half or so, I've sort of kind of had been recovering from some sickness stuff. I'm doing great, doing much better. Thank you all for praying, by the way. We still need more food if you're not. No, we don't. We're okay. But during that journey, I had the chance to do some stuff that I normally don't do because I couldn't do a lot. I just had to sit and could only, and for a while I didn't feel like reading, and finally I did. But one of the things I love to do is to watch old movies. Now, I know this sounds strange, but when I say old movies, what do you think about when I say old movies? What'd you say? Outlaw Josie Wells. No, I'm talking about stuff from like 1930. Like, I'm talking about grainy stuff. Outlaw Josie Wells. What was that, Chris? Where did that? Do any of us in this room know what that movie is? Oh my gosh. Anyway, so here's the deal. So I love to watch old movies. It probably comes from my media background, and I love to watch them I love to watch the sets, and I love to watch the video, the clips and how they shot them, because they shot them all with one camera, and then they would try to edit them together, and the hard splices and the back and forth conversation. I mean, I just love it. I love to see something that's in one camera shot. When they switch to the next angle, it's not in the camera shot, and they switch back. It's moved in a different position, like the coffee cup or the flowers behind. I'm sorry, it's just what I do, and I just love it. I just love it. And so in the journey of that, I was exposed to some new forms of media that are out there. Like there's this thing called YouTube. I didn't know it was out there. It's like all kinds of stuff you can watch there. I knew about that. And so I watched a couple of YouTube videos, and I found this particular one because there's a few people that I just had not had the chance to listen to lately. And I went and I found this particular video from this one gentleman that I really greatly admire. He's been with us before in our church. He's a Christian. He's an incredible young man. And I watched a couple of his videos, and I found this one that it was one of those moments as I was watching it, the Lord just began to speak into my life that it was just, this was church. This is where we are. And I thought, man, I can't play this video. It's somebody else's material. I mean, I got to have my own fresh stuff, John. I can't, but I thought, man, I need to play this. And so I'm going to play it for you today, and we're going to watch it, and we're going to talk about it. Psalms chapter 119, largest chapter in the Bible. I want to read to you the opening passage of this chapter. And it's shoot. Okay, sorry. Hang on. There's a problem. I've discovered it, and I have the new invention that's going to make us all millions. Are you ready for what it is? and it's probably already made. I want to say this, and somebody in this room is going to go, oh, they have that. I cut my finger. You probably can't see it, but I have a Band-Aid on my finger. See that? You know what that thumb does? That thumb opens my phone. That thumb swipes my phone. I live and die by the thumb. You know what this Band-Aid doesn't do? Doesn't let my fingerprint go through, Larry. Come on, go with me. Band-Aids that operate your phone. That's golden. I guess not. All right. If a glove can have it on it, my Band-Aid can. You watch. Shark Tank, here I come. Okay, Psalms 119. I'll read this to you. It says, you're blessed when you stay on course, walking steadily on the road revealed by God. You're blessed when you follow his directions, doing your best to find him. That's right. You don't go off on your own way. You walk straight along the road he set. You, God, prescribe the right way to live. You prescribe the right way to live. You know, now you expect us and expect us how to live. Oh, that my steps might be steady, keeping that course you have set. My steps might be steady, keeping the course that you have set. Then I'd never have any regrets in comparing my life with your counsel. Thank you for speaking straight from your heart. I learned the pattern of your righteous ways, and I'm going to do what you tell me to do. Don't ever walk away or don't ever leave me. Now, first of all, if you are a Bible scholar, you first are going to recognize that that probably is not exactly the right language. It's probably the first or second time in my life that I've ever read a passage from the Message Bible, the Message translation. But it's so apropos for where we are in our church and where we are as individuals. He set the path before us. He's laid it out there for us. He's put it together for us. Not something that we have created, although we like to think that we have created it. He did it. And when he sets that, we walk in it. And so with that as a context, I want you to sit back, and I need you to understand something. The beauty of the kingdom of God is that it's so broad and it's so rich. And it's experiential by culture. And one of the things that I inherently believe about church is that church has to be fun. Church has to be fun. If having fun and seeing lives change and seeing people move into this beauty and relationship with Christ and doing it in a fun way isn't fun, then I don't want to be a part of it because I'm a fun guy. The kingdom of God is fun. Watching lives be changed is fun. And experiencing that and expressing that in our culture and laughing and being together and sharing. It's okay to laugh. It's okay to cry. It's okay to weep. It's okay to laugh at people that do weep. No, it's not okay to do that. Although I get picked on a lot because I'm a crybaby. But it's okay. My point to you is that the kingdom of God is everything because he created it all. And so today we're going to express our understanding maybe in a little bit different way than what we're normally used to seeing. Take a look and listen to my dear good friend. Well, he's not my dear good friend. He's just a friend. I do know him. He's been to our church before, Mr. Michael Jr. Take a watch.
Thanks, man. I'm excited about being here. We're going to have some fun. My name is Michael Jr. I'm going to do some jokes. Yet, at the same time, I'd like to explain to you how how comedy works. So let's jump right in. I actually like the city of Reno a lot. I was here once. I was keynote speaking for a corporation, and something really kind of strange happened when I was here. So normally, I'm the type of person, I like to be on the stage alone. I don't need any help or anybody. So this CEO of this large company introduces me, and he has the microphone. And normally, we have two different mics, and he leaves, and then I'm there. That's the plan. Dude stays there. I'm standing right next to him with no mic. And then he looks at the audience, and I'm standing there, and he says, First, let me explain this. I'm the type of comedian, like I'm observational. Like I pay attention to things like college students. Take somebody who goes to a nice school like the University of Southern California. Ask them what school they go to. You get a nice, quick answer. What school you go to? USC? New York University. You get a nice, quick answer. What school you go to? NYU? Ask somebody to go to community college. You get a much longer response, don't you? What school you go to? Well, see, right now, what I'm doing, I'm gonna get a couple credits, right? Then my financial aid is supposed to come through. Then I'm gonna transfer, man. They say school kills creativity anyway, man. I feel vulnerable. Is Brene Brown around, man? I feel really vulnerable right now. And let me tell you a little more about me. I love being a dad, and I have 5 kids. Yeah, and I travel a lot, you know, so I can see them all. I'm just playing. I don't see them. No, I do. I have 5 kids. They're all with me. I live in Dallas now. My kids are awesome. The thing about having a big family is you always have to figure out ways to save money. And we wanted to get our family pictures taken, and that stuff was expensive. So we did to save money, right, is we all got in the front seat of the car, looked both ways, and ran a red light. That's what we did. 2 weeks later, the picture came in the mail. But my son blinked, so we had to do it again. Stuff is crazy. I was doing that joke in prison recently. I wasn't in prison like, hey, I'm funny, get off me. It wasn't like that. We go to, whenever we're doing a big live event, like we're doing one tonight in Reno, whenever we do a large ticketed event, a concert in a city, we always look for a homeless shelter or a prison, abused children's facility to go to during the day, do comedy. So I'm doing a prison this time, and yeah, it's a TED Talk. I don't got that much time. You don't got to clap. It's okay. So we're doing this prison, and I do the joke about the red light, and 75% of the prisoners laugh, the rest of them, nothing. Then I realized what was going on. Some of them had been locked up for so long, the dude next to him had to explain the joke. He was like, see, nowadays, when you run a red light, they send a picture with a ticket in the mail. Then he looked at the dude next to him and was like, a red light is what they use for traffic when you go down the road. And then he said, a road is what they use. Wow, where am I at right now, man? So I'd like to explain to you how comedy works. This is how comedy works. Really all comedy. Anytime you laugh, this formula is taking place in one way or another, but specifically with regards to stand-up, this is how it works as well. First there's a setup, and then there's a punchline. Let me explain. The setup is when a comedian will use his talents and resources to seize any opportunity to ensure that you, the audience, are moving in the same direction. The punchline occurs when he changes that direction in a way you're not expecting. When you catch on to this change, you've received the punchline. The results are revelation, fulfillment, and joy expressed through laughter. Let me give you an example. A few summers ago, I took my family on vacation to Mexico. The first 2 days were rough because the people there kept calling me a Negro. The third day, I realized they were saying amigo, and it was all cool. That was cool, so. Did you see what just happened right there? So when I was a child, I used to struggle with my reading. I used to really have a hard time reading. I don't know what it was. I just struggle with it. I read now just fine. Like the signs over the door that say excite, I can read that stuff. But when I was a kid, I used to struggle with my reading. Like I couldn't sound a word out phonetically, it just didn't work. So now, looking back at it, I realized I developed like 7 different ways to look at a word to determine what the word was. And I'm talking about, just started noticing this really in junior high. So I would look at the font size, the color, the positioning, what's in front of it, what's behind it, how people responded to it. I got really good at looking at words differently. To the point in high school, people didn't know I wasn't really reading. I was just working it out really, really fast. Now as an adult, I read just fine, but I still have this ability to look at words and people and situations 7 different ways almost immediately. In fact, it's the primary place where I pull my comedy from. So that very thing from my past that looked like it was a setback, looked like it was some sort of handicap, turns out I'm actually able to use it for what I'm called to do now. So just like you've probably had some sort of setbacks, but if you would, in a way, embrace it, you'll probably find there's more opportunities out there. Now I find comedy all over the place. At the airport today, a little white kid walked up to me, asked for an autograph. I was like, hey, buddy, what's your name? He said, I'm Tanner. I looked at him, I said, no, you're not. His mom was cracking up. He was like, I am Tanner. It's like, trust me, you're not. Or I'll notice stuff, like I saw this dude with a muscle shirt. Don't you ever see a dude with like a muscle shirt, like a white tank, but he ain't got no muscles? I'm like, what is that, a wife threatener? Depending on where you're from in the country, you'll understand that joke better. And his friend had on a shirt that said, if you don't speak English, leave the country. But it was written in English, so. So I walked up to him and I said, you're dumb. But I said it in Spanish, though, so he didn't know. He didn't know. So I'm able to find comedy in a bunch of different places as a result of embracing what seemed like it was a handicap from my past. I noticed even what people say sometimes. Have you ever heard the phrase, boy, I wish I could have been a fly on the wall? Every time I hear that, I walk up to the person and I say, and then what? No. You want to be a fly on the wall so you can hear the information that was in the room. Well, I've done the research. Flies don't have ears. Yeah. You would be just as ignorant as you currently are, but you would be a fly. Nobody even listens to a fly. I mean, let's say you're a fly that could read lips. What are you going to do with the information? And you got 2 days to live. You're making bad choices. Or people will sometimes say stuff to me like, Michael Jr., where you from originally? I'm like, originally? Huh. Well, I was conceived in Michigan. Yeah. Before that, I was with my dad. Yeah. And then there's a swim competition, right? And I won, which is crazy. 'Cause currently, I don't swim at all. I used to be pretty good, though, apparently. I am not politically correct. I'm just gonna tell you, I know I do comedy, but I'm not, it's just too much work. I'm just telling you. You gotta watch the news and know the language. I just believe if you put the right stuff in your heart, the right stuff will come out. So I never try to be politically correct. Some people work hard. I'm at a coffee shop. There's a white guy in front of me, orders a coffee. The lady in front of him is like, hey, how do you want it? He looked back at me and was like, African American, please. I was like, cool, let me get the Caucasian mocha. Let me get that if I could. Let's get the Caucasian mocha, I guess. I'm trying to learn. Coaches would say some stuff too. You ever hear your coach say something like, the stuff I'm teaching you here, it's not just about this game. You can apply it to life. Here's the thing, people, that's not true. I thought it was true. Straight out of high school, one of my first jobs I used to park cars. One of the cars was really nice, so I took it for a little spin. The company found out and my boss lost the account. He was yelling at me and screaming. I didn't know what to say or do. I thought back to my high school football coach. I looked at my boss, I was like, you know what, man? You win some, you lose some, man. You can't let this one loss get you down. The important thing is I went out there and I had fun. Then I got fired, man. I got fired right now. Actually, I do play some basketball. I didn't want to perpetuate stereotypes, but it's true. But in basketball, you're supposed to run and jump. I don't really feel like doing both all the time. So some friends recently took me ball hunting. Some people call it golf or whatever. I shot a 121. That was what I shot, a 121. And then we had lunch, and it was like, hey, we're gonna do the other 9 holes now. I was like, I'm not going back out there. I'm not going. Because they lied to get me to go. They was like, yo, the greens are awesome. I was like, cool. I showed up with some cornbread. I was like, all right. I don't know how to say cornbread in German. I'm sorry. I just did that just for Germany. I've never really been there before. I do think working out is important. I was at the gym the other month, and I was gonna do some cardio, right? But they moved it upstairs. I ain't going up there, man, please. And I get recognized at the gym. I got recognized. I'm working out, this lady's like, I was like, hey, how you doing? She was like, you don't understand, Michael Jr., you're my favorite comedian. Every time I see you, I laugh my butt off. I was like, keep laughing, you know? Keep laughing. So there's a club in Los Angeles. When I moved to Los Angeles and I was brand new in comedy, there's a club there that it's like the best club in the country. It's called the Comedy and Magic Club. It's actually in Hermosa Beach. This club is extremely hard for a comedian to get into. The way I got into this club is a guy named George Wallace saw me when I lived in New York. He knew I was funny and clean. So when I moved to Los Angeles, he took me to the Comedy and Magic Club. Now, he couldn't get me on stage because it's way too prestigious of a club. They have to know who you are. So he got me into the green room. I'm in the green room, and suddenly, brand new in town, and I find myself in the green room with some soldiers in comedy. There's George Wallace, Gary Shanley, Jay Leno. I'm brand new in town. And at the time, a football player got hit in the eye with a flag, and he lost his vision in one eye, and he was suing the league for $400 million. Now, all of these guys are helping Leno on that joke subject for the monologue for the Tonight Show on NBC. I ain't saying nothing. I'm just happy to be in the room sharing French fries with these dudes. But your gift will make room for you. So then they got quiet and they all looked at me and I'm thinking, oh snap, this is an opportunity. So I was like, all right, let me see if I got this right. He got hit in the eye with a flag, he lost his vision in one eye, and he's suing the league for $400 million. He not gonna see half of it. Like for real. So here's the thing, how did I get that joke that fast under that much pressure? The truth is, it wasn't as much pressure as you might think because I had been practicing since I was a child in the form of a kid who was having a hard time reading. I was practicing just like you've probably been practicing. You just didn't know you were practicing. I'm here to let you know you've been practicing. And for a lot of you guys, it's game time. It's game time. So now I'm in the club, and I'm performing there. This was probably like 7, 8 years ago. And I'm headlining at the club, and right before I get on stage, I had a change in mindset about comedy. Most of the time when a comedian gets on stage, he wants to get laughs from people. And I felt a shift take place. Instead of going up there to get laughs from people, I felt like I was supposed to give them an opportunity to laugh. I did a little prayer, and I clearly felt like I was supposed to give an opportunity to laugh. This changed everything. Because now I'm not looking to take, I'm simply looking for an opportunity to give. This is why we now go to the homeless shelters and all these places. In fact, that very night when I leave the stage, I'm outside, people want autographs, we're hanging out, taking pictures, and I look across the street and I saw a homeless guy. I had never seen a homeless guy outside this club before, ever. But that doesn't mean he wasn't there before. That just means before, my mindset was to get laughs from people, so why would I even notice them? But now I changed my mindset and I see this homeless guy and I have the thought, what about him? How could I give him an opportunity to laugh? And that's when we started doing homeless shelters and prisons and making laughter commonplace in other non-common places. So now as a result of doing that, we went to this one place, we went to Montrose, Colorado. It's a facility for children who are being abused by their parents. And I'm hearing all of these stories, and this grandmother tells about her grandson who was so afraid of his mom because he's on drugs. She's been abusing him, and one of the things she's been doing is she's been pulling out his toenails. So I hear this story, and they bring all these kids inside, and Spider-Man is sitting right up. This little boy is so afraid of his mom, everywhere he goes, he wears a Spider-Man costume. He's sitting right up front at the show. If my mindset was still to get laughs from people, there's no way I would have been able to do the show. But my mindset changed, so now I have to do the show. So I get up on stage, and people start laughing slowly but surely. 20 minutes in it, I hear a voice come from right here, and the voice says, my name is Ronan. And this little boy pulls off his mask and introduces himself to me. In a way, and I can't even tell you what it meant to me. And he started talking to me for like 9 minutes like I wasn't doing a comedy show at the time. But it was all because I made this shift. I made this change, and I said simply, instead of trying to get, I'm going to see if there's an opportunity to give. If you can make this adjustment, it will change your life for the good. If you're a mechanic, you may think you get paid to fix vehicles, but if you can make this shift, you will recognize you help people reach their desired destination. That will put your alarm clock out of business. My senses are there's a lot of people out there still hitting the snooze button. Before I bounce means to vacate the premises. I'd like to explain to you how life works, at least from a comedian's perspective. First, there's a setup, and then there's a punchline. Your setup is your talents, your resources, and your opportunities. And most of the time, we use our setup to ensure that the people around us are moving in a direction that serves us, which means the punchline occurs when you change that direction in a way they're not expecting. You actually use your setup for other people. The results are the same, yet multiplied. Revelation, fulfillment, and joy. But it's not just for the one receiving your punchline. It is absolutely for you as you deliver the punchline. In fact, if I ask the question to everyone here, everyone watching, if I ask you this question, how many people here know what your setup is? Every one of you would be able to tell me. Because your setup is the fact that you have a house, a car, you've been married, you went to school. Your setup is about what you've received. But what if I ask the question, what is your punchline? Because your punchline is about what you're called to deliver. And if you only know your setup and not your punchline, you'll make the mistake of trying to add more setup. If I could just get another degree, if I could just get married, if I could just lose weight. But what you really need is to know your punchline. Again, because to know your setup and not your punchline is an uncomfortable place to live. Let me give you an example. How many people are still thinking about the story of me and the CEO on stage? The reason all you guys are still thinking about that story is because all you have is the setup. You don't have the punchline. Yet we've moved on. And so we'll go to a comedy show or a football game or a concert, even though there's something missing. And that's just the story I told you 10 minutes ago. What about your story? You've been living it your entire life, and if all you know is the setup and not the punchline, you are living in an uncomfortable place. And please be clear, just like when I had a hard time reading as a child, your setbacks are part of your setup so you can deliver the punchline you're called to deliver. Much like a slingshot, the further you've been set back, the further you're going to reach. But what are you going to aim for? Everyone has a setup, and everyone has a punchline. You need to find your punchline and deliver it. I'm Michael Jr. I love you. Thank you, guys. Oh, you guys are awesome. Standing ovation. Thank you so much. Thank you, thank you. Get up, dude. You too. I'm just going. Thank you. Thank you.
Michael Jr. If you've never heard of him, he's an amazing Christian who understands, has the ability to see people's lives transformed. This is part 2 of Covenant Sunday. This is part 2 of kind of our year to kind of get our feet on our ground. And we talked last week about that process. But I don't want to rehash what he just said, and I hope you heard through it. But I want to give you 3 or 4 things, and I want to tie them into where we have to be. Not only as a church, but as an individual. The first one is it's a setup. It's a setup. I used to have a friend of mine tell me this all the time. Hey, it's a setup. Everything in our life is a setup. We know that. Most of us know that. But sometimes we fail to recognize that it is God who's the one who has allowed or processed or put that together. How can tragedies in our life be part of the setup? Just because they are. Because unjust falls on the righteous as well as the unrighteous. Life is a setup based upon how we experience it and what we go through. And John used to talk about it all the time. We don't arrive at some point where we get there and we go, oh, I got it now, I'm here. That's not the case either. We don't get somewhere. Did y'all see the little 17-year-old that won the gold medal for the Americans last night? Now what? What's he going to do? He's 17 and he's won a gold medal. I mean, he like woke up, he's like a duck in a new world. He has no clue. What I'm trying to say to you is that he's not done. He's not through. His life's not over just because he achieved something or had something great happen and he's grand. It's the same way in the negative. Just because something tragic happens to us, just because we have a circumstance that befalls us, just because we walk through something that's uncertain that we can't believe we're walking through it, just because we experience something that, oh my gosh, I can't tell the world about. The world can't know that I had this sin happen, or the world can't know that I'm going through this financial circumstance. The world dare not know that I have this physical ailment. God forbid that I stand in front of you and tell you that I have a prostate problem. When we do that, we all of a sudden identify ourselves as a failure, but it's not a failure. It's part of God's plan. It doesn't mean that he bestows these things upon us. It's just life. And the sooner we recognize that, the better off we're going to be able to serve him and be related to him and articulate that. I can't tell you about this crisis I went through in my life and my emotional relationship. Yes, you can. Because it's part of what he does. The second thing he said that is just amazing is that you put the right stuff in your heart, the right stuff will come out. If you put the right stuff in your heart, the right stuff will come out. There's a process in our life that when we allow ourselves to recognize that we're walking in the right place and putting the right things in our life, it doesn't matter the surroundings around us, the good stuff is going to come out. It doesn't matter the long journey that we've been on, the good stuff is going to come out. You keep walking with Jesus and don't worry about all the people that are yelling at you the same way that they did when they walked with Jesus. The right stuff's going to come out. So it's a mandate for us. It's a place you have to be as a faith follower. And if you don't want to be there, then you're going to be unsuccessful as being a faith follower. You're going to be unsuccessful as being a servant. Listen to the third one. It says, your gift will make room for you. Listen, your gift will make room for you. God has gifted you. You may not think that he has, but he has. And he shapes and he molds it by the life and the path and the course that we're on. You don't ever understand it. You don't know how that it works. But all of a sudden one day it shows up and you go, oh my gosh, this makes sense to me. This now works for me. I can do something with this because this is now what I have been journeying to get to, at least at this point in my life. I'm in Cuba, building a church, having a good time, minding my own business, doing the thing that I grew up doing, building buildings with my dad, laying brick, doing carpentry. So my kids asked me a couple of weeks ago, we were working in the house, Dad, how do you know to do all this? I go, I don't really know how to know this carpentry stuff. I just do. I don't know how that it works. I just do. I just have it. It just emerged. Probably because of the things I experienced as a child. And all of a sudden the pastor says, hey, we could use a sound system in the church. And I realized I'm not a sound guy. I'm not a sound tech. But I spent some time in the media world and I understand sound and lighting. And here's a simple church that needs a sound system. So guess what I have the ability to do? I have the ability to help put a sound system. Our churches help put 6 sound systems in Cuban churches. How? Why? Because it's all part of the setup. It's our part of recognizing the gifting that God places upon you and sometimes recognizing that you may think it doesn't have value, but it does. And he articulates that very clear. You and I, we have this place where our gift that we have, if we allow it, it'll blossom. I think the church world has not recognized that. I think sometimes we don't think we have giftings. I think that we're invalid as a person that sits on the pew. And God looks at us and says, no. Your gift is valuable to this body, to this church, to the body of Christ, to the kingdom of God. Let it blossom. If we recognize that, it'll bloom. This is the next one he said. It's game time. It's game time. It's time to be in the game. It's time to put up or shut up. Let me tie this into our church world for just a minute. It's game time for Life Assembly. What used to be Life Assembly. It's game time for now. What is the church at Pleasant Grove? It's game time. It's all set up. Everything that we've emerged through, everything that we've been through, the message is clear. The mistakes, it doesn't mean that it's all been bad, and that's imperative for you to understand. What it means is that God has transformed us as individuals into a place where he is looking to do something amazing we never thought that he could ever do. All because now's the time. Now's the time to understand that then the next thing he says is that he had to have a change. He says, and it changed my mind. And he blew through it real fast. I want to give you the context. Michael Jr. was doing this routine that he had done 100 times before in this one building. He'd come out into the foyer, out in front on the sidewalk many times. He'd signed many autographs, laughed at a lot of people, and never noticed a homeless man across the street. But one night he decided and he saw it, and there was a change. There was a change in his mind. His mindset took a different place. He walked to a different place, and he saw the homeless man, and everything in his life began to change. And from that moment, he said, how come he can't laugh? What makes that man not be able to laugh across the street? If we just all sat in here and laughed, what is it that we have that he doesn't have? And the answer is nothing. Just because he's homeless doesn't mean that he can't laugh. Just because he's homeless doesn't mean he can't experience what we experience. Just because he couldn't pay the $22 to get in and the cover charge and all the other stuff that went with it, he still has the right to laugh. Let me tell you something. There has to be a mindset and change in our lives to recognize that everybody in your world needs to experience the transformative grace of Jesus Christ. We got to change our mind. We got to change our mind instead of worrying about this idea that we're just keep waiting for the next things in our life to set up. We have to change our minds to the next thing that he talks about is what is our punchline? Our punchline is that. We inherently believe, I inherently believe that this message has been, this is where this always gets hard for just a minute. I think sometimes we've gotten stagnant to the message because we're so consumed about the things that are being set up in our life that we fail to recognize that the beauty of the gospel of Christ, that he said, if you love one another, this is what will happen to you. You will see transformed lives. You'll see people renewed and restored and healed. So what's your punchline? What's your setup? What's led you to this point? Every one of us have been through it. Every one of us has been down the journey. Come on, John. Every one of us has taken this path before. Every one of us have a story to tell. They're all different. They're all unique. Gosh, some of you, I look at you and I go, thank God I didn't have to go through what you went through. And I mean that. See, part of this process is we fail. Just this morning, somebody said to me in our covenant membership thing, we said, we want you just to be honest. Sometimes being honest is not easy to do, but it's a great thing. And sometimes I look at you and I go, man, I can't. How did you get through that? How did you get through that experience in your life? And then I could say to you my story, and then we could start top this testimony, and we could start figuring out whose life's more worse, who's sadder, and who's, we could go through that whole entire process. But here's what I know. I know this. I know that the punchline is transformed lives. Everything that you've been going through in your life, everything we've gone through in our life, everything that our church has been through from its inception to where it is today, now it's time to get in the game and deliver the punchline. And the punchline is transforming lives together. And if we don't buy into that, then we're not buying into the gospel. Love one another. See, we're fearful. Michael talks about not being able to read. Most of you, if you're a visitor today, got news for you. I'm not a good reader. I'm a horrible reader. I'm a terrible reader. I can't spell well either. Many of you know my exploits at spelling attempts in my life. I'm not the guy to call for the spelling bee judge. I promise. I am not that guy. Even with Michael Jr., I can't tell you how many times I misspelled Michael today. How do you spell it? You spell it M-I-C-H-A-E-L. Not me. I spell it M-I-C-H-E-A-L. I mean, that just works for me. I spell it that way all the time. And so probably what would have happened today is that I probably would have put it up. I think it's to put his name up there. Isn't there another line? Did I have Michael Jr.'s name up there or not? Yeah. Anyway, it doesn't matter. If I put it up as misspelled, everybody goes, I'd hear the snickers, and I'd get the text, and somebody'd do a meme on it, and then next thing you know, it's viral, and I'm all made fun of because I can't spell. I've told you about my journey of where I used to write book reports. I read a book on angels on assignment. Instead of angels, it was angles on assignment. One was about tiny ants. Instead of tiny, they were thinny ants. They were on diets. The whole book. But that's just who I am. And the sooner that I recognize it, I don't embrace it and live there and never learn to spell right, But let me tell you something. John sends me something with a misspelling in it. Oh my God, it's the greatest day of my life. Yeah, I just live for it. I have a whole placard in my office of them, like 2. And it's there. But that's just who I am. I'm not going to wallow in it. I want to recognize that God made me this way. And I've got giftings, and I've got to use them. And the message is transform lives. See, but we can't climb over those sometimes. We can't climb over those hurts. We can't climb over the unforgiveness. We can't climb over the moment in our life when something happened to us that for whatever reason, it is how we are defined, and we just are stuck in the setup and we can't deliver the punchline. We can't, as he said so beautifully, redirect back over here and get where we need to be because we're fearful. Last scripture. 1 John chapter 4:18 says, such love has no fear, because perfect love expels all fear. If we are afraid, it is for fear of punishment, and this shows that we have not listened. I'm not saying this, Scripture's saying this. If we are fearful, it shows that we have not experienced His perfect love. We haven't experienced His perfect love. And the first thing we're going to do is we're going to run to this place where we say, oh, that's perfect love is from Him. Stop for just a minute. What did we read last week? Remember, we're tying these two together. We're tying these two together. He said, there's a new commandment that I've given to you, that you do what? That you love one another. Wait a minute. Does that mean that the possibility that the fear that you have may be dispelled because I choose to operate in the new commandment that He's given and love you enough that you discover through my love that the fear you may have about exercising the punchline in your life is removed, not because He wrote it on the wall or He woke you up in the middle of the night. Did you follow that? That's as good as I get. Our movement as a church, as a body, as who we are, as a people, is not defined by the things that we've been through or what we've experienced or where we are, our highs, our lows, our growth, our number, our programs that we do, our methods that we have failed at and attempted at, failed at. But it comes because we're going to recognize that He loves us. He first loved us, and we are required to love one another. And through that, we're not fearful of anything. So I'm not afraid to stand up and tell you that, yeah, I've had my journeys, but I know the punchline. Transform lives. And if you're walking around in this space and you're new to life, and many of you may be, well, Pastor, this is just a standard message. I encourage you, I'm not sure it's a standard message. You know why I'm not sure it's a standard message? And I'll give you my confession, because many of you know, like, it bears repeating. It's because I dabbled in this world for 50 years and didn't know it. I was too concerned about the setup. I was too concerned about the next part of the joke that's funny. I don't know if you noticed that or not, but some of his jokes just keep going. They just keep, because there's continual setup. There's just more you can see. If we can just have another program in church, if we can just have another potluck Sunday, if we can just have another this, if we can just do this, and we just keep looking and we just keep adding for the setup and never turn back around to hit the punchline. And you know what happens? People are left hanging the same way that we still don't know about the story with the CEO and what he said. Remember? We still don't know, because we just keep living in the setup. This morning, God's looking at this body and asking us to not live in the setup anymore. Let's deliver the punchline. So this morning, we're going to deliver it to you in a different way. I want you to stand with us. Pastor John there's a couple of songs that we're going to sing today. And one of the things that we often do in church world is this. We show up. I said it to you earlier, we segregate this process. And so we've explored the Word this morning. This message, some of us are caught in our setups because some of them are bad. Some of them you don't want anyone to know about. That's okay. Maybe you never will. That's okay. He knows, because He set the path. He set the path, Psalms 118. And we're going to sing some songs today that I believe the word in these songs are going to set, I believe they're going to set some of us into a new place. It's going to set us into a change of mind. And I allow you for the next few moments, no hurry today. I mean, I was understanding one of the songs we're going to sing, but I don't know if we're going to do it or not, because I'm not sure exactly what He's going to do. I mean, I know He's going to do, but He may, get all inspired and go another way. I don't know. But one of them talks about Him rescuing us. One of them talks about the fact that He will go to great lengths to rescue us because we're His sheep. because we're his sheep. And all we, like sheep, have gone astray. We've messed up. This morning, I ask you, I want you to sing not messed up. I want you to sing in the rescue of who he is. I want you to sing in the fact that he has crafted and made you. And this morning, let these words articulate out of your heart to him the idea that you want to be a part of his church, of his body, of seeing lives transformed, because you are one of those. And there's nothing, if in your life there's something that stands between you and him, may you release that in the middle of this singing today. Let's sing to the Lord today.